repeatedly agreed to this on a number of times. Kelby says, if EFT is fraud, why are the evidence of titles and releases of liens so apparent? I said, some people have not listened and do not recall what to do if a certain circumstances happen, or they were not expecting that to happen. So some of it's on the heads of the people, and I agree with that.
Can
However,
you explain that a little bit more?
I didn't make that clear. Okay. Well, some people have been having problems. I know from personal experience, from when I talk to people about accepted for value, that not everybody hears the same thing or remembers the same thing. And therefore, it's hard to say where the problem lies in when you don't follow proper procedures. But the bottom line is, they say these people have evidence of titles and releases of liens, but I haven't seen any.
Exactly.
I've seen a few people raise their hand, but if asked, it was recent, like a week, 2 weeks. I haven't heard of any long-term successes. I hope there is. I really do. I hope I'm one of them. But I haven't seen them yet. Kelby goes on to say, Fred and Nina have 5 cases where the EFT was presented in court and the EFT and process prevailed. So I say, Tad has to have affidavits to tell the truth, but you can make statements without presenting any facts. Then I can say something like, I have 5 million court cases that say whatever it is I wanted to say. It means nothing without a list of those cases. How would that not be considered hearsay? And don't get me wrong, I don't have any reason to doubt you. But how can you say this is fair? Tad can't do this, but Kelby can. You got to play by the same rules. And why send an email to me or even to Tad? I think you have his number. So why not contact him directly? Why send out all these emails to everybody unless it's to cause injury? Kelby goes on to say, the simple and plain truth is this. You violated the confidentiality of private The simple and plain truth is this. You violated the confidentiality and privacy of one of Fred's friends, and they then lied about it, why you did this. And my response was, really? The hearsay I heard is that Fred said, verify everything. Check it out yourself. And the documents that were given to everyone, even in the binders, had names and information. At no time do I recall anyone say, please do not call him. So since you are calling Tad a liar, tell me, what did Tad lie about? How are you not doing exactly what you are accusing Tad of doing? Where is your affidavit? So you can make accusations and defamations of character, and Tad can't. You're speaking in Fred's name without power of attorney or personal first-hand knowledge. I honestly only know what I've heard, what I have read in this email. Well, actually, I've heard a few stories that were from first-hand experiences before I went to the seminar and considered them and decided to go anyway. And some things that were saying didn't feel right. I still stand by that decision. Although I don't know I'd make the same one now. Kelby goes on to say, Fred caught you in your lie and chose to cut his ties with you and not speak as a guest on your weekly show back in March. Again, I say, what lie? If I said I saw you with a dead body, doesn't mean I saw you with a dead body. If you're going to attempt to call somebody a liar, present some facts. What did Tad lie about? Kelby goes on to say, Fred and Nina are quick to withdraw from people who demonstrate weak and questionable character. And you, rather than taking responsibility for your poor judgment and actions, chose to behave like a scorned lover and go out of your way to slander them. And I say, so you think calling Tad a scorned lover, a liar with a weak, questionable behavior is the way to stop Tad? So slander is the method to stop what you think is slander. Kelby goes on to say, using your weekly show as a forum to slander, defame, and malign Fred and Nina will fall squarely on your shoulders, and you will be held responsible and liable for your actions criminally and civilly. And I said, truth is always a defense for slander, or any of the things that he has mentioned. Kelby goes on to say, be advised that numerous of your listeners have contacted me and stated they are happy and willing to record this call, and further will be preparing affidavits regarding your comments and statements in order to support Fred and Nina. And I say, cool. Maybe you will begin by keeping your promises, provide customer service as you said you would, but have not yet done so. Kelby says, did we stop building the Republic because of fear-mongering as Debbie is doing? I say, so the threats are not among your attempts at fear-mongering? Because he's making threats too. He says, let's hear from the people and not from detractors whom is operating from fear and blatant ignorance of the facts. And I say, bring in on people with positive experience and let them tell their story as well. They don't even have to have an affidavit. Kelby says $125 million in titles and lien releases can be brought to any investigation committee. And I said, don't tell us, do it. Kelby says, I think we need the people in our country to focus its investigation on why people such as yourself can bring unfounded complaint based on hearsay, not an injured party. And I said, I think that if the people are telling their story and they are not happy, they are the injured party. Kelby says, also, Tad, you personally told me that you were worried about the competition of Fred and Nina, and you personally were trying hard to establish an agreement with Fred and Nina so you can put them on your site. And I said, yes, he was doing that. Kelby says, Fred said no, and your response was to alienate him, annihilate them in public so your competition wouldn't be prevalent. And I said, were you there when Tad allegedly said no? I think that you are making up hearsay testimony. If I was not there, and I cannot say what happens, but my understanding is that Fred got upset when Tad called Frank about the document, and rather than be friendly and explain that we should not do that or make any attempt to tell others not to bother Frank or remove his information off the documents, Fred decided that yelling would be a better solution. Kelby says, Tad, you seem to be bringing a typical de facto attack to the people without producing an injured party. This is conjecture, speculation, and theory at best. And I said, actually, if he does the call, he'll be bringing in people who claim to have personal first-hand experience, some good and some bad. Kelby says, what is not a theory is a crime that has been committed by yourself now for the slander and defamation against Fred and Nina. And I said, what crime has Tad done? What slander? What defamation? Tad has done nothing as of yet except to offer to provide a method for people to voice their experiences, whatever they may be. You make assumptions. Why is this not an attempt to frighten, fear-mongering, defame, and slander Tad? Why did you send this email to me? Kelby says, affidavits will be prepared on the matters and consider this call, if done tonight, to be the beginning of a public conflict towards your site and you personally, in which will disclose your lack of character and the real reason that Fred and Nina did not wish to be associated with you. And I said, lack of character? Lack of character? You mean like, say, if someone makes a promise and doesn't keep it? Say like they gave as a donation a specific amount of money for advance CDs and never received them, and not just one person but many. And the fact that when certain individuals make an attempt to contact you, you do not return their phone call and let them know what is going on, or that it will take longer than expected, because silence is honorable. Fred's too busy to make this email himself. Kelby says, further, be advised that if you act upon this and these people you choose to allow to act as your agents in this fraud by not providing bona fide proof and submitting an affidavit alleging the truthfulness of their statement, you are personally liable both criminally and civilly. And I said, if it was Tad telling or making up these people and their stories, I would agree. But when it's the people, we take them at their word. You have successes. Do we believe you without affidavits? Why should we believe you? I say, why should I not believe you? I should accept what you say as fact because I believe you to be honorable. I suspect I shall receive the things I paid for regardless of what happens tonight, because if you believe what you are saying, you will not let a disgruntled people or people with bad experiences, regardless if they did wrong or they did not work for them, to alter your responsibilities. Kelby says, Fred will come against you with the full force and effect of the law. And I said, stop with the threats, at least third-party threats. I'm sure Fred can threaten them as well or better than you can produce, unless you can produce a power of attorney to speak in Fred's name. And Kelby says, knock this crap off. And I said, look in the mirror. And then he ends with respectfully, Kelby Smith. And I said, how is this remotely respectable? I get it. It's a knee-jerk reaction. But when people complain to me about the accepted for value process, I listen and try to help them. You ignore and threaten? I know deep down you are better than that. As I see it, you're all promised too much, and of course, there will be a breakdown in anyone's ability to fulfill all the promises. I saw Fred willing to help everyone that had a problem, but as the hours went over the days, I thought there is no way he can keep all these promises, as I've tried to help anyone who asked. And I didn't have as nearly as many people. The basic problem here is that you don't want to communicate with anyone that makes a complaint. I listened to the show and heard the lady accuse Fred of taking money and not helping. I heard Fred's response. It was unprofessional, shocking, and disregard to what this woman was going through. But also know that we are all human and have flaws. I did not see this as a flaw in the EFT process, but on how you respond to complaints. And as I look over this email, I see it in abundance. You do exactly what you accuse of others of doing. Well, we will all do that to some extent. Why not try to open communications, reasonable response to complaints, and help people you are trying to help rather than badgering? I think even a successful court win against Tad is going to prove anything in the minds of the masses. Win or lose, you lose. Communication is the answer to the problem. Win or lose, you win. That's how I ended it.
Thank you, Doug.
Are we all still awake?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Very well said. Thank you very much.
Yes, it was very well said, Doug. Thank you.
Yes.
Chad, why don't we go to some of the people now?
All right.
People in Hawaii specifically who've had first-hand experience with Fred and Nina.
Okay. How about Doug O?
Happy to step up. I hope I can say it succinctly and not drag on too long either, but I met Fred and Nina through Mish and Craig. I didn't know a whole lot about this stuff. I had delved into it very briefly and steered clear because I worked for companies I couldn't implement what I wanted. So, but I met him coming into a class and said, what is this? Is this a lifetime thing? And he smiled, and I was like, oh, darn it. But in the past year, it's definitely been a lifetime thing. I spent probably 6 months with him, pretty close. 3 months, I did nothing. I asked for nothing. I gave, and I just observed. And he told me I was credible. He told me I was his brother. He went through the churches out here and got quite a following. And he told them he was his brother. They're very credible.